Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us take the three refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Okay, we shall now chant the verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Today, we are very happy to have Associate Professor Angie Chew from Brahm Center, who will be giving us a talk titled Transforming Negative Emotions into Positive Force. But before we go into the talk, we have some announcements that we would like to share with you. We have launched our new website to help raise funds for our new Dhamma home. Please donate generously. There are 4 ways of donating. You can donate via PayNow, bank transfer, cash nets or check, or also by monthly gyro as well. For more information, please go to our website bfdhammahome.org. The BF Youth will be having their next talk on the 25th of September, titled Managing Exam Stress. For more information, please go online to register. Brother Lewis will be giving a talk on the 26th of September, titled How Beautiful is Our Perfection. Please join us for our Indonesian Dhamma discussion. We have our ongoing Dhamma Foundation course every Saturday from 4th September to 18 December, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We currently have 2 vacancies. If you wish to attend the course on site, you can also register for Zoom course if you wish to as well. The BF Junior Youths will be having their lessons on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. via Zoom. BF East is currently having their Yin Yoga for meditation every Tuesday, 7:30 to 8:45 p.m. Please register. Alternatively, you can also register for every Thursday, 7:30 to 8:45 p.m. to learn yoga from Deepa D'Souza via Zoom. Our happy workout is starting every Saturday, October 2nd to December 18th, from 10:30 a.m. to noon. This will be carried out via Zoom. Please register via Eventbrite. Okay. Finally, let's welcome Associate Professor Angie Chew. Let me give you her biography. Angie Chew, Singaporean of the year 2019, is the founder and principal mindfulness trainer at Brahm Centre, a secular charity that promotes happier and healthier living, offering mindfulness programs, free health talks and activities, preventing services for patients and caregivers, and support services for the lonely elderly in the community. She is a very popular mindfulness trainer who has conducted numerous mindfulness courses and workshops. Let's welcome Angie.
Welcome to this talk on transforming negative emotions into a positive force. I think we all have experienced emotions that are considered negative. And why do we consider these emotions as negative? First of all, it doesn't feel good in our body. It can make us irrational. It can cause a lot of stress. And this can even result in having headaches, pain in the shoulders, our heart palpitates, our breathing becomes rapid. And for some people, they can even feel that as though their body is burning, or there's a lack of energy. So we know it is not helpful, and the emotion is negative. Whereas a positive emotion is something that you feel good about. It gives you a boost in confidence, and your body actually feels energized, light. Feels like, we can actually do anything. Anything is possible. So the mind becomes very optimistic, positive, and eager to be doing things. A negative emotion makes us feel lethargic, makes us feel very fed up or want to give up. So allow me to just share some slides here. So when you look at someone who is happy, we feel that effect of someone being happy. And we want to be close to someone like this. We want to hang out with people who are happy because we feel safe and we feel at ease and even energized by someone who is happy. So there is an effect on the body, and it's not just the state of mind. How about when we are with someone who is angry? Do we feel safe? When we walk into a room and we know someone is angry, either because he looks so tense or because he's raising his voice or shouting, do you notice your heart starts to beat faster and there's tension in the body? Because someone who is angry becomes unpredictable, potentially dangerous. That is why our body reacts with this tension, because the brain has already assessed that this person could potentially become a threat. So the body has gotten ready to fight or flight. So this is the stress reactivity that is in the body that helps us to stay safe. But it doesn't feel good because we feel uncomfortable. We want to go away. That's why we call this a negative emotion. But having said that, anger is not always negative if we know how to transform it to become something positive. And we'll talk about that shortly. How about the emotion of fear? Now, fear has helped to keep us safe and alive. It is the instinct of all animals, and human is part of the animal kingdom. So there is a place for fear. But if the fear becomes extended or becomes intense, fear can paralyze us. And fear prevents us from wanting to try new things. It stops us from being adventurous, being spontaneous. Some people fear to the extent of not wanting to do anything because in case someone thinks badly of us or someone says something negative about us. So fear can cause us to be in a state of freeze. That's why it's negative. People can stop the sense of wanting to try new things or have the passion to live or even to do a job well because of fear. And the third emotion that I'm going to focus on is shame. The sense of shame comes from self-judgment. It may be triggered by someone saying to us, "Shame on you for having done that," or "Shame on you for disappointing other people." But the bulk of that shame comes from us feeling bad about ourselves and layering judgments of that we're not good enough, that we've done something bad, that we are a terrible person. And this can lead to depression. Fear and shame, when it's intense, can lead to anxiety, resulting in anxiety disorder and even having panic attacks. And untreated, it could result in depression. So let's have a look at the brain and what is happening in the brain that is actually causing our body to be so tense and even freeze up. And that has everything to do with the amygdala. The amygdala is the fight, the flight brain that helps us to survive. It is also known as the emotional brain. So when this part of the brain is overactivated, then we could end up suffering from anxiety disorder. Because every time the amygdala is activated, it sends a message to the hypothalamus that triggers the pituitary gland to pump adrenaline. This is the stress hormone that helps us to prepare ourselves for fight or flight. However, it may not even be the case that someone is in front of us that is threatening us. It may just be an imagination or a thought of that person that we fear, or ruminating on something that had caused us to be fearful or angry for that matter. Because both anger and fear have the same effect on our brain that activates the stress reactivity system, which is the amygdala, that part of the brain. So the more it's activated, the easier the amygdala will get aroused as it becomes very sensitive. But the good news is, when you are a meditation practitioner, it can actually help to shrink the amygdala. That's why there is a field called the neuroplasticity. And recently at the Asia Pacific Mindfulness Conference, Dr. Sarah Lazar from Harvard Medical School had shared about neuroplasticity, the effects of meditation practice on the brain. And this is her slide, with the permission from her to use it, that there is evidence, as shown in this image from fMRI technology, that meditation can help the amygdala to be less active. It will be consistent with decreased arousal and sense of well-being. So when we do the meditation correctly, it can actually help us to be more zen, to be more calm, to be more chilled, and not easily activated, as we see in some people, very easily irritated, aggravated, agitated, being angry or enraged. So some people who are suffering from depression may actually show signs of having difficulty in managing anger because the amygdala is really overactive. The other side effect of meditation practice is thickens the prefrontal cortex. This is the front part of our brain, which is the most evolved part of the brain in humans compared to other types of animals. And this is the part of the brain responsible for the working memory. That means like we receive a one-time password on the phone, we remember it long enough for us to key into the app, then we forget about it. Executive function, decision making, fluid intelligence, where we are rational and also creative in how we solve problems. So, these are scientific evidence of how meditation affects our brain. Now that you have the scientific evidence, please continue to do your meditation practice diligently, because it does affect your brain in a very positive way, and therefore it will affect your life in a positive way. But please do not meditate with a sense of control and wanting to get the mind to stay put, because that sort of control meditation is not helpful. It is about training the mind to be relaxed and to be aware of where the mind is and to focus on the breath or an object of focus of your choice. So even doing the meditation correctly makes a difference. If you may recall, in 2018, there was a group of 12 boys that were stuck in a cave. Very fortunate for them, there was a coach there that knew how to meditate and led the boys in doing meditation. If they had not done so, their minds could have gone very disarrayed and started to imagine what could go wrong, and that they don't have enough food, they may end up dying, oxygen level was low. But because the assistant coach who was with them was able to lead them in meditation, their minds were calm. And even when they were found more than 2 weeks later, they did not panic. They were like, oh, okay, wonderful, help has arrived. And it was such a great story. They didn't have PTSD, post-trauma stress disorder. Unlike perhaps anyone who may have been in that situation, in a dark place for more than 2 weeks, may be suffering from nightmares and having to see therapists and be treated for PTSD. So this mind, in its own place and itself, can make a heaven of hell or a hell of heaven. If we have thoughts that don't run away, a mind that doesn't run away, that creates all sorts of negative narratives, then our life would be in a much better shape. When our mind runs away with all sorts of negativity, and that's when we get anxious, we get angry, we feel ashamed, and this could lead to anxiety disorder and also depression. So PTSD is not just about having experienced something traumatic, but how the mind interprets it, judges it, not accepting something has happened. And this causes a recurrence of the experience. The inability to accept what has happened traumatizes the mind over and over again. And due to that, this body feels tense and the anxiety is in the body. And it could actually cause us not to be able to live normally. So mindfulness experts like Dr. Treleaven has devised trauma-sensitive mindfulness to help people heal from past trauma that they have not come to terms with. Past trauma is due to fear that this PTSD is happening, the fear that it may happen again, the fear of reliving the fear, layers the fear. And so someone can be feeling fearful over and over again. And this becomes a disorder in itself. So how do we transform negative emotions into a positive force? So I'll give you an example. If someone has been sexually violated, it's very traumatizing because the violation of the body affects the mind. And the fear of it happening again is replayed in the mind. People can end up living fearfully and also affects their future relationships. Instead, is to check in. What is it that we can do to help ourselves and others? If you have been sexually violated, do something positive about it. Make a police report. This will help to ensure that the perpetrator doesn't again violate you or someone else. Because other people may be threatened, may be vulnerable, and that is doing something positive. So transform that fear into something positive is to do something that is going to help the future. Because otherwise we're just trapped in the past. If you're angry with your boss, which is another form of negative emotion, or angry with your colleague, the judgments in our mind, or what we call the thoughts, will continue to fuel this emotion. And it causes us to be irrational, as well as not enable us to work well with the person. What if we can reflect on what makes us angry and distill the learnings from that experience? What is it that we can learn from the experience that will enable us to work more effectively, would then bring about a positive outcome? Staying angry at someone is not helpful because it just makes us all tensed up, and it can even keep us at night and end up having sleepless night or becoming someone who suffers from insomnia. So staying angry at someone is really self-destructive. It also destroys the relationship, the trust. Imagine yourself having some people who work with you, and because he or she is angry, or sometimes we call that being disgruntled, you would sense the person is potentially dangerous, because this person can badmouth you, can undermine you, speak badly of you, and risk or put your reputation at risk. That's why you would view that person as potentially dangerous. So when we're angry, similarly, the people that we're angry with, when they sense it, they would also feel that we are potentially dangerous. So instead of staying angry, is to distill the learning. Allow ourselves to open a conversation with this person and say, hey, I feel uncomfortable with what has happened and I would like to talk it out. It is not easy, but staying angry is even worse because it consumes you. So do something positive about it, because you will grow out of having this conversation, even though it's uncomfortable. I remember having a colleague who said something very negative about me to my boss. My boss came and told me about it. I felt really hurt because it wasn't true. And I remember going home and felt really upset about it. And a friend that I talked to encouraged me to go and confront this person who made those remarks. And it wasn't a comfortable thing to do. But I knew that if I didn't do it, I would just stay angry and upset. That doesn't help me. And it would affect my professionalism and affect on how I would be working with this person for the rest of my time in the organization. So the next day I went to the office and I knocked on this person's door. And I said, could I just have a few minutes with you? And he said, oh yeah, come in. And I sat down and I said to him, I heard from my boss that you had said to him about me, And he said, oh, no, I didn't mean it that way. He became actually quite uncomfortable and even defensive. And I said, oh, it may have been a misunderstanding. So I thought it's best I came and clarified with you directly rather than being left to think that it actually happened that way and misjudge you. And he said, oh, yeah. Thank you for bringing this up to me and letting me know. No, I didn't mean it that way. Now, deep down inside, I knew my boss wouldn't have lied to me, but it's okay. He knew that next time if he said something, he will be more careful, because it's very likely I'm going to come back to him and clarify it with him, which he would be very uncomfortable again. One thing of saying something unpleasant about someone is different from being confronted by the person who heard what is being said, right? So that really was super helpful, because he never again said anything negative to anyone about me. Or at least he made sure I would never find out. And to me, that was a boost in my confidence. That instead of fearing, being angry, is to just have a open, professional conversation about it. That means no emotions, right? Just lay the facts in front of me. So I encourage you, if you have an uncomfortable situation because you felt someone had said something unjust or unfair about you, it's not to hold it in your heart, but to make it known. And that way you would strike a new understanding and to rebuild the trust. Now, I'm not sure if any one of you may be upset with your parents. That won't be unusual. You may feel angry at your parents or even fearful of your parents. Again, right? Most parents have good intentions, but they may not know how to best communicate with their children. So instead of being angry at them, is to use foundational attitudes that we teach in mindfulness called acceptance and letting go. And the third one is gratitude. Gratitude is extremely powerful because it helps us to remember all the kind acts and care that these people have shown to us, especially if they're our parents. They may be our parents, but it doesn't mean they are always wise or they're always right. Or they may not have the skill to communicate with young people in today's world because their world was so different. Acceptance is accepting them as they are, because we can't change our parents. In fact, we can't change anyone for that matter. So just accept them as they are from the old world. And that way we can let go of whatever they may have said that was hurtful. They may have meant well, but were not skillful. And this is what we call transforming the negative emotion into a positive force, by accepting that that's the way they are and letting go. And that is a form of forgiveness. Just like them, we cannot try to change them. They can't change us. But this wanting to change each other is what gives a lot of problem in the relationship. Sadly, when a parent dies, the child grieves. The worse the relationship is, there tend to be more grief. Strange, isn't it? You think that if the relationship wasn't good and the parent dies, the kid will be happy, right? Yay! Finally, I am free, liberated from my parent who is constantly nagging me and giving me a hard time. Strangely, it's the kids who have good relationship with their parents tend not to grieve as much, because they're able to celebrate the life that they had with their parents, and they accept that the parents are not going to be here forever, but they had a really good time together. But someone who didn't have a good time with their parents tend to grieve, because the mind is such that when somebody is gone, the mind remembers all the positive things, and the regret and guilt set in. And this can sometimes lead to depression. We have people coming for the mindfulness-based therapy for insomnia course because of grief, because the person doesn't have a good relationship with the parent when the parent was still alive. So if we can accept our parent as he or she is and adapt to the parent is helpful. Focusing on how we can care, not focusing on how they should change. Similarly, at work or in our relationships, we need to adapt, because people are not going to live up to our expectations. The more we're able to adapt, the more flexible we are, the more we are going to be able to be open-minded and have more joy and happiness. If we are close-minded, we have set expectations, set beliefs, that is setting ourselves up for unhappiness, because the world is hardly going to turn out the way we want. Just in a situation of COVID, if we can accept that we're going to live with COVID, then we are still going to live a happy life. Okay, we can't travel, but Singapore, we're in a really good place. Or wherever you are, because there are many worse places to be in. So acceptance takes away that mental suffering of wanting what we can't have. We focus our mind instead of what we can have. And that is how we let go of the anger, let go of the fear, and focus on what we can do. And then we continue to live happily, or more happily. Shame is all about self-judgment, and sometimes we are being very mean to ourselves. If it was someone else coming to us and say, I've made a big mistake. I'm so ashamed of myself. I'm terrible. What would you say to that person? Would you say, yeah, you are. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're a terrible person. Or would you be saying, everyone makes mistakes? One act doesn't make you a terrible person. One act just was a slip, was poor judgment in that moment in time. That doesn't make you a bad person. Even someone who's committed a crime, maybe just one act, doesn't make the person a thief, a robber, a murderer forever. It's one act. So be kind to yourself as you will be kind to others. And that has to come from your heart. To develop the kindness by doing loving kindness practice. So the reason why there's so many types of meditation, it's because your mind is in different states. So you apply the right meditation to heal the mind, or heal the heart for that matter. I believe there are two parts to the mind, the thinking mind and the feeling mind. And when they're aligned, that's when we have peace of mind. But when the thinking heart and the feeling heart doesn't align, that's when we have so much internal conflict. So I hope this talk gives you a bit of how you can transform your negative emotions into a positive force. First, believe that you are happy. Second, you can do something about transforming your life by transforming your mind. So I'm going to finish with a few slides here. We're very glad that at the last Asia Pacific Mindfulness Conference in August, we had over 6,000 registrations from over 50 countries. That is how meditation has become pervasive in many parts of the world, not just in Singapore. And in Singapore, we co-organized the conference with Ministry of Health, Agency for Integrated Care, Institute of Mental Health, National Council for Social Service, the universities, the medical schools, and also the two big health groups, Sing Health and NHG. And we also had international partners like Oxford Mindfulness Center from Oxford University, and the Brown Mindfulness Center, which is one of the Ivy League schools, Monash University down under. And we had over 70 international speakers who were neuroscientists, mindfulness experts, mental health experts. So we are in a really good place in terms of helping people to improve their mental health. If you or anyone that you know of needs psychoemotional support service, Brahm Center has a free assist line and WhatsApp service after office hours. So please take a picture of this, or you can always go to our website to obtain the numbers to call us. We also offer counseling as well as art therapy services by appointment. So if you have problems that you have not overcome, please come forward and seek support. Today we had a talk by Dr. Jerome Goh from Tan Tock Seng Hospital on detecting mental illness and seeking help. This video will be uploaded in the Brahm Center YouTube channel, so look out for it. Next Saturday, we have a free health seminar on symptoms and treatment of dementia by Dr. Felicia Law of Tan Tock Seng. And I'll be giving a talk on happy parents, happy teachers, and happy students the week after. And Dr. Daryl Tan will be speaking on managing sleep challenges on October 30th. We do have a range of mindfulness courses, which are secular in nature. And if you are 50 and above, you can even get subsidy from National Silver Academy. And all Singaporeans, you have Skills Future, please use your credits wherever you're living to take the course. And I'm pleased to mention that we have a 3-day mindfulness retreat coming out on 31st October by Dr. Treleaven, whom I mentioned. He is a trauma-sensitive mindfulness teacher, and also myself. So if you know of anyone who has suffered from trauma, you may want to consider this 3-day retreat at the W. You can attend it online or you can attend it on site. So there are mindfulness-based courses in October and November. Just check it out, whether it's mindfulness-based stress reduction, mindfulness foundation course, or mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, depending on the condition that you'd like to address, whether it's stress or anxiety or depression. So look us up on the Facebook or on our website. Now, someone had sent me in advance a few questions related to suicide. And one of the questions is suicide really preventable? There's a rise in number of suicides. Yes, it's very preventable. I was personally involved in a few cases in preventing suicide. First is to be non-judgmental, to be open to what the person suffering is feeling, and to be a good listening ear. It is not about giving advice. Some of them are actually tired of getting advice. What they would like is just understanding, and to offer them a listening ear and letting them share what is really bothering them. We can offer some suggestions in a gentle way and even accompany them to go and see a psychiatrist. They do not need more people to judge them as being weak or being silly or being unacceptable, because some cases is that they feel that they're not accepted by their parents or society. Remember, we are part of society, to remind them that I accept you as who you are. You don't have to change for me. Let me help you. And that's really what they need to hear. So it is very preventable. There was a young man who wanted to kill himself because he felt that his mother would not accept him as being gay. So when the police were actually called and the mother realized how serious it was, she worked on her own beliefs to accept her son as he is. And the son is no longer suicide or prone to suicide. So yes, we can prevent suicide. Another question here is, a person who calls a hotline if he or she is depressed is usually not that determined to commit suicide. It's considered a cry for help. How then do we reach out to those who have chronic risk of suicide? Well, we don't know for sure when someone calls us whether he or she is prone to suicide. We have many callers to our Sis line. Some of them are suicidal, and we have to handle them differently. So they do cry for help, and they do seek help. Suicide is not something that people just want to do for the sake of it. It is because they want to end their pain. So if we can help them relieve their pain, there is no reason anymore for them to want to commit suicide to end their pain. Third question is, research shows that the warning signs of suicide are possibly not easy to spot. It can be quite easy to spot. We have to be willing to ask the questions. Are you feeling suicidal? A lot of people are uncomfortable asking this question, thinking that it might put the thought of suicide into the mind of the person. If I were to ask you, do you feel suicidal? Does it make you want to be committing suicide? No, not if you're well. Not if you're not in pain. And I'm talking about more like emotional pain. And somebody who has been thinking about suicide and you ask them, they usually would be very honest about it. And then you ask them, do you have a plan? Because they may feel suicidal, but if they don't have a plan, the risk is not as high. So I would really urge you to go to the Brahm Center YouTube channel to watch this video on managing suicide risks, or yes. So anyway, it's by Dr. Daryl Tan. So look for that video. He has given a very comprehensive talk on prevention of suicide. Yes, that's what the title is. Okay, what are the causes of depression? What I can say is when we are very negative in our views, we have a lot of anger and fear and shame, it could lead us to becoming depressed. Some people are predisposed to depression. Usually there are triggers before we end up in depression. When someone suffers from having to be separated from things that are dear to them or people who are dear to them, and they're not prepared for it, it can lead them to be depressed. For example, if someone feels the job is very important and it gives them the sense of identity and purpose in life, and the job is taken away from this person, this can result in the person becoming very depressed and leads to depression. There's a difference between feeling depressed and depression. Feeling depressed is usually just a short period of time, but depression is actually about even losing interest in living, losing interest in the things that you usually like to do, wanting to be isolated and being suicidal, losing weight or gaining a lot of weight. So do look for the YouTube video as well on detecting and treating depression, which we just had a talk last week by Dr. Victor Koch, the head of psychiatry in Sengkang Hospital. If someone splits up in a marriage, there's also a very high chance of the person going to depression, because when people take vows, their mind is set up to believe that they're going to be together forever. So when someone splits up, it is actually very traumatic. And the other one is losing someone suddenly to death, or feeling like the world is falling apart because a few things go wrong in life. Betrayal, the marital split, losing a job, or having to face an illness that you didn't expect, losing a limb and having to change his or her entire lifestyle. So there are many causes to how someone goes into depression. So I'm really glad that more people now are aware of mental health, mental well-being, and mental illnesses. So please look after your mind. And when you look after your mind, you become much more self-aware, and you also then become more aware of other people's well-being. So be aware of any of the negative thoughts that is affecting you to experience lots of negative emotions, and do a transformation. So I wish you all the best, and apologize for not being able to be with you physically. May you all be well and happy.
Dedication of merits. Let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Ettavata cha amhehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cha amhehi Sampadang punya sampadang. Sabbe bhuta anumodantu. Sabba sampati siddhya. Ittavata ca amhehi. Sampadang punya sampadang. Sabbe satta anumodantu. Sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in this wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idang me tinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me tinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me tinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
We hope that you have enjoyed the talk. Next week, we have Sister Sylvia Bay who will be giving a talk, What is Buddhist Practice? Please register if you'd like to come on site for the talk. Thank you and goodbye.